Hello guys, this is Skill Dimension. We make short videos on latest and popular technologies, and this is a Java interview question series. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Okay guys, today's question is constructor chaining. So interviewer can ask what is constructor chaining and in how many ways can we achieve it. So to look into it, first let us see what are the different types of constructor in Java. So here I made just a simple class called basic questions. There are some instance variables b and a, and we have a main function. Okay. So as we know, there is a default constructor which does not take any argument. Okay. And there is another type of constructor which is called a parameterized constructor. Here there are some parameters and we are passing these values into our instance variables. Okay. Now let us use our constructors. So first I've created an instance with the use of our default constructor, and let us just see the output. Yeah, it's default constructor. Okay, and let us now use our other constructor, that is a parameterized one. Let us run and see the output. So we are seeing the parameterized constructor line also. Okay, so these are the two constructors. Here we have a new requirement, guys. Now I want to call the default constructor from this constructor. So for that we will use this. Okay, this will mean that we are calling the default constructor from here. Okay, now let me just delete this line and do the execution again. See, now only with calling the parameterized constructor we are able to get this line also. So in such requirements where we want to perform more than one action or actions of a different constructor in a single constructor, then we do it like this. And this simple act is called constructor chaining. Okay, where we are just calling another constructor from a constructor. Now let's jump back to our whiteboard and write this. This constructor chaining is nothing but it's calling a constructor another constructor. Okay, this constructor chaining is of two types. So first is we can do it within a class. So the example that we just saw, it is an example of within a class. Also we can do it in a parent child relationship. Okay, so let's just see an example for this now. For this example, I've created a class called basic questions and it has a default constructor. Now let us just create another class, class A, which is also having a default constructor, and let us extend this class. Okay, and now in our default constructor I'm going to call the base class constructor by using super. Okay, now let us run this. See, firstly this super class constructor is being called and we see the line base default constructor, and then we get this derived default constructor. Here's one more interesting thing to see. Suppose if I comment this line, let us see what will happen if I again try to run the same program. So if you can see the output, again we are having the same value as output. That is because implicitly there is a call placed to a super class constructor even if we don't write this. So that this happens only for a default constructor. But suppose if I had a parameterized constructor only here, what will happen? See, we are getting an error here that there is no default constructor available in A, and if I do something like this and execute it again, let me just write parameterized here and let me just run it. Okay, now we are getting the same values. Okay, but the difference is for a default constructor of super class we don't have to call this, because this call is automatically made. But for a parameterized constructor of a superclass, we have to call it. Okay, so this is constructor chaining within two classes. Now that we have seen the two types of constructor chaining, we can say that whenever we are doing constructor chaining within a class, we can do it with the use of this keyword. So either we can do this or this with values, some parameters. Okay, and whenever we are doing constructor chaining in a parent-child relationship where we have two classes, base and derived, we can do it with the help of super keyword. Okay, if in case of parameterize, then we have to pass the parameters. Okay, it's time, guys, to see some rules of this constructor chaining. Okay, so some rules we have to see. So first rule is, whenever we are placing a call to another constructor, that call should be the first line. Either that is using this or using super. Now let us see our example. We are calling it at the first line of our constructor. Now let me just copy and place this line someplace else, and we can immediately see the error saying that call to this should be the first statement. Also in our other class, if we place this line somewhere else, we'll get that this should be the first statement. Okay, so this is the first rule. Now let me just place it back. And the second rule is, there should be at least one constructor that does not call this. So this rule applies only for a within a class constructor chaining. So let us see. We have this class where we have a default constructor and a parameterized one. We are calling the default constructor from here. Now suppose if I again call this parameterized constructor from here, and we can see the error, it's saying recursion or recursive constructor invocation. What is happening? Suppose if we want to create our instance, okay, so the control will come here and it will call this. This is the default constructor. Now the first line is again calling the parameterized one. Again it will come to the line number 12, it will come to this line, and again it will go to line number 7. So this is a kind of loop, an infinite loop. So in order to avoid this infinite loop, the compiler gives us the error that this is a recursion and there should be at least one constructor that does not call another constructor like this. Okay, now coming back, so these are the rules about constructor chaining, and this is all about this question, what is constructor chaining and how many ways can we achieve it.
So guys, do let us know what you feel about the video, and also let us know if you want video on any particular question. So that's all guys from Skill Dimension.